mic also? You looked at that?
Yes, I don't, guys. Okay. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. So today, like what you said, we'll just be talking about pastimes of Lord Jagannatha, Baldev, and Subhadra. So yeah, we'll start with the advocation prayers. So if we could have, are there microphones out there? Could we get some microphones out here? Let's see. Prabhu, do you want to start us off with these prayers? So now we're going to go to Bona. Do you want to give it a try? The next one, it's going to be up here. You don't have to do it from memory. You just can do the top one, and then we'll have somebody else do the second one. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagapate, Gopesha, Gopika, Kanta, Radha, Kanta, Namostate. And then, in the back. Prabhu, do you want to give it a try? The second one right here? Kanta, Kancha, Gauranga, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vishwanu, Sukhe, Pranamani, Hari Priye. And then, someone think you want to do this one? Panchatapaturvescha, Vilasindhu Vevacha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Make a stoop. Do you know the next one? Yes. Nice. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. And then for the last one, I forget your name. What's to do with the clips? What's your name? Could you just tell me your name really quickly? Mabel? Nice. You want to give the next one a try? It's very simple. I'm sure you already have it down. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Krishna Prasaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashavyade Sadarine. So, before we begin talking about the pastimes of the Lord, I'm just asking for all of your mercy to enable me to be able to be an instrument in sharing these stories of Lord Jagannatha that I've heard through various devotees and through readings, and to forgive me for all the mistakes that I may make while sharing these pastimes. So yeah, today we are celebrating, like Prabhuji said, we're celebrating in India, Jagannath Puri. Jagannath is officially coming out. so he's just been in, he's just had a fever for a few days, I believe it's 7 days. And now he's out and about. He's going on this festival called the Rath Yatra, where thousands and thousands of devotees congregate together to chant the holy names of the Lord while pulling him for 9 days. So in honor of that, we'll be sharing some of his pastimes. So the first one, we'll be talking about how Lord Jagannath appeared in Jagannath Puri. And so that started with, there was a king, King Indradumna, very long ago. And King Indradumna, he had this very, very intense desire to worship the Lord. He always wanted to see the Lord, to worship him personally. It was always tearing at him. He was very eager, very determined to be able to worship the Lord. And in this mood, one day, a Brahmin, he had came to visit King Indradumna and notify him that there has been, that he had seen demigods worshiping a deity of Krishna, Nilamadeva, in the Niladri mountains. And so upon hearing this, the king, he became very ecstatic. And he had sent out one of his closest Brahmanas, one of his closest, subjects, a Brahman named Vidyapati, to go check it out. Go find Nilamadeva for him, to worship him. And so Vidyapati, he went on his travels. It took him a few months, and he had come across a family of pig herders. They were more of a lower class. They would just herd pigs. And so whenever he was there, he had met with the daughter of Vishvavashu. And Vishvavashu, later on, he had ended up marrying the daughter of Vishvavashu. And Vishvavashu, he had actually been worshiping that deity of Nilamadeva very personally. His family has been, since the Nilamadeva deity had been established. And every day he would go out at night. And Vidyapati, he would always wonder, where is your father going this late at night? Every time he comes back, he's always smelling so sweet of fragrances that he hasn't even smelled the king wearing. And he was just like, wow, what is he doing? And so Vishvavasu's daughter, she had disclosed to Vidyapati that her father was actually worshiping Nilamadeva. And Vidyapati, he just started begging his wife, please tell your father to allow me to go visit him. And one day he was able to convince Vishvavashu to go to visit Nilamadeva. And whenever he had got there, the Nilamadeva deity had actually begun to speak to both Vishvavasu and to Vidyapati. And while speaking to them, he had disclosed, he had told Vishvavasu, thank you for your service, but now I must be moving on to fulfill the desires of King Indradumna, because he knew that King Indradumna had this great desire to serve the Lord. And so he had announced that he was going to be under the care and under the service of King Indradumna from now on. And Vishvavasu, he got so mad. Imagine if you're worshiping the Lord, and then one day he just leaves. It's very tearing at your heart whenever you have such a deep relationship with the Lord, and then he just leaves. And so Vishvavasu, he became very upset at Vidyapati, and he started blaming Vidyapati. Oh, you are the reason why my Nilamadeva is leaving me. You are the reason why he's going away. And so he tied Vidyapati up to a rope, or to a tree with the ropes. And upon hearing the cries of Vidyapati's wife, Vishvavasu's daughter, she came and she was able to untie Vidyapati. And immediately Vidyapati went to King Indradumna to tell him about where he had found the Nilamadeva deity. to retrace his steps on his way there, he had placed a bunch of mustard seeds, and so he was able to, with the king, whenever he got the king's men, he had retraced his steps following those mustard seeds to go up to Nilamadeva. Whenever he got there, King Indradumna saw the Nilamadeva deity, took him home, and worshipped him happily ever after. No, I'm just kidding. That's not actually what happened. The Nilamadeva deity was actually gone. It was actually missing. And King Indradumna, he was like, what happened to him? Where could he have gone? And the number one suspect, can anybody guess who the number one suspect was of his disappearance? Mataji, Vishvavastu. That was the number one suspect. And so King Indradumna arrested him and was going to keep him in custody until Narada Muni appeared and had told King Indradumna why the Lord had left. And the Lord had left because right now his service was too personal. It was just it was just with Vishvavastu's family, and then it would be going to King Indradumna. But Narada Muni had informed him that he was going to come again in the form of Lord Jagannatha, so that he could be worshipped by everybody. And so with this, Narada Muni had instructed King Indradumna to build a great temple, to build this humongous temple. And after that, he would speak with Lord Brahma to discuss how to install the deities after, and how the deities, he will obtain the deities after the temple is constructed. And so King Indradumna went on, and they constructed this temple, this beautiful temple. And once it was complete, Narada Muni, he had brought King Indradumna to Lord Brahma. And whenever he was there, Lord Brahma had told King Indradumna that the Lord was going to appear in the form of a log. And with this log, you would have to carve out the Lord's form, and then place him in the altar in the new temple, and then Lord Brahma would come down and install the deities. So after this, King Vishvavastu had went back down to the Earth planet, to his kingdom, and whenever he had arrived there, his entire kingdom was completely different, because time works a little bit differently. So he had all new subjects, and whenever he got there again, he had told them, okay, after a few days, he had a dream, where in this dream he had found where this log was, where this transcendental log was. It was made from a very special tree. I don't remember the name of the tree, but whenever he had this dream, it was floating in the ocean. And so the next day he had got all of his king's men, all of the people, he had got an army of people to go to retrieve this log. But whenever he was there, nobody could move it. Not armies of men, nobody could move this log until a descendant of Vishvavastu, who had worshipped the Nilamadeva deity previously, came, and he was able to transport this log. And then Lord Jagannath, being very difficult, it wasn't easy to get him out of the ocean, and then carving him, that was also a task. So it took so many, King Indradumna, he had hired so many great carvers, some of the world's greatest carvers, but none of them were able to carve the deity, because their tools would just break upon touching the deity, upon touching the log. And so none of them were successful in their endeavors until an older Brahmin came later on. And this older Brahmin, he had agreed to carve out the Lord. He had agreed to carve out the Lord under one condition. And this condition was that King Indradumna mustn't disturb him. That King Indradumna must not enter this room. That he is carving out these deities, or else he won't finish them. And so King Indradumna, 2 weeks had gone by, and King Indradumna, he would hear the sounds of the chipping, for deity being carved, and then one day after 2 weeks, it just stopped suddenly. And he was like, oh, it's an older Brahmin. He might have, left his body. So let me go check on him. And he went in there, just impatiently went in there, and the Brahmin had disappeared. And whenever he went in there, he had saw these forms of the Lord with no hands and no feet. And he had immediately felt, oh no, what have I done? And he presumed this form of the Lord to be incomplete. And so that comes to a question. Was this form of the Lord actually incomplete? I don't know. Does anybody want to answer?
No.
No? Why do you say no? I mean, like, he didn't have any hands or feet. It was just, like, his eyes were just so big. Like, was this a complete form of the Lord? Yes. And of course, it was the complete form of the Lord. It was Lord Jagannatha. And so whenever Lord Jagannatha, he appeared, he had took this form with these big eyes and his arms and feet in. After overhearing the queens discuss their pastime, the Vrindavan pastimes, he had overheard the discussion of these pastimes, and in hearing these, he had, in separation, he had took this form. And Narada Muni, he relayed this message to King Indradumna. And so after this, they all became very ecstatic, and they put the deities onto the altar and began to worship. They began to worship the Lord in this form. And this is today, as we know, Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra, the ones in Jagannath Puri, where this festival is taking place. And with this, it's this mood of separation that that Lord Jagannath, that Krishna has taken in this form of Lord Jagannath. It's a very deep mood of the Lord, and in this way we must we have been taught to like worship Him a certain way. We see if you see like you go to like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you see how he had interacted with the deities. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had spent how many years in Jagannath Puri?
18 years.
25, 50? Did you say 50 years?
18.
15?
1-8.
1-8? Okay. 15 years? 18. Yeah, it was 18 years. Sorry, I just kept hearing 15. I was like, hey, you guys are so close. But 18 years he had spent in Jagannath Puri. And each day, more and more, these feelings of this ecstatic feeling would grow in him. In an address that Srila Prabhupada had actually written, he had talked about this Rath Yatra festival, and he had talked about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically had spoke that these feelings of separation were preached by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this Rath Yatra festival is observed in Jagannath Puri in India 500 years ago. And 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in this festival, and he was in the mode of separation as if Radharani was taking Krishna to Vrindavan. So in this way, like Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whenever he was dancing in front of the deities, he would always in front of Lord Jagannath. This was the only thing that was on his mind. There's actually a verse that he would recite whenever he was in front of the deities. Man, I wanted Bill People to be here because I know that she knows like the meter for this well. Do you know what Krishna Prabhu? Okay. Let's see. Does anybody know the meter for this? Somebody get
Chon Nivita Malati Surabhaya Raudha Kadamba Nina Sachaivasmi Tathapi Tattva Surata Vyapara Nila Vidham Devarodhasi Vedasi Taratale Cheta Samudhamate.
Nice, thank you. Would you to read the translation of it?
That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of the malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vedasi tree. That is my desire.
Thank you, overview. So, on the surface, like, for context, this was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text, verse, I wrote it down here, sorry. Okay, I cannot find which verse it is, but it's in chapter 1 of the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. And this verse itself, whenever you're reading it, you might think like, oh, you might put it down to a mundane level and see like, oh, this is just a relationship between a boy and a girl and stuff, but it's actually a very deep, very intimate relationship. And this prayer right here is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say whenever he was dancing, recite whenever he would dance in front of Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri. And the actual meaning of this mantra, it wasn't known by very many people. It was actually only known by one specific devotee that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very close to. Can anybody give a guess as to who that devotee is? Today we are observing
Damodar.
yes, Swarup Damodar. We're observing his appearance day today. So he had understood the very meaning, what the mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was exhibiting whenever he had spoke this verse. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he had overheard it one day. He was present one day while this verse was being recited, and Swarup Damodar had talked about this verse, and so he had composed a verse very similar to it, and later on he had wrote it on the palm of a tree, and like a tree leaf, and he had put it and he had left it in his home. And then one day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had came to his home, and he had actually seen this this verse that Srila Rupa Goswami had wrote, and he was just immediately like astonished. He was like, whoa, like how does he also know that this feeling that I'm exhibiting, how does he understand this? And so Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had brought it to Swarup Damodar and actually confided in him and told him, wow, how does Srila Goswami, how does he know what this means, and how is he able to write this verse? And Swarup Damodar, he replied that he must have the grace of the Lord. And so what this verse really means, and it talked about it later on in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. With the Rath Yatra, with the Rath Yatra festival, we are commemorating one day there was a solar eclipse, and this day Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, they were traveling from Dwarka to Kurukshetra, and all the residents of Vrindavan, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, had learned of this, and so they came there to see the Lord. And whenever they were there, the residents of Vrindavan, they saw Krishna, and very opulently, and they saw him in this very opulent mood, and they worshipped and respect Krishna in that way, but they really missed Krishna in that mood of Vrindavan, where he is in Vrindavan. And there is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharani, actually, my dear friend, now I've met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still, I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna, underneath or beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute, playing the fifth note within the forest of within that forest of Vrindavan. In this way, these feelings of separation kind of cultivate. So what is this feeling of separation that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cultivating every time he'd see Lord Jagannath, every time he would be present before Lord Jagannath, or these feelings of separation that even King Indradumna had felt, the intense desire, I want to worship the Lord, I want to worship the Lord. And Vishvabhasu had even felt these feelings, and oh, I won't be able to worship my Nila Madhava. Why is this so important? And I guess in that regard, Srila Prabhupada, he defines separation as, he has written that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had never claimed that he has seen Krishna. That's not what this bhakti process is. He claimed he was always mad after Krishna. If you notice just in the way Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his behaviors, he was always mad after Krishna. He would always ask, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? So this Chaitanya philosophy, Srila Prabhupada says, is called viraha. And viraha means separation. So Krishna, you are so good. You are so merciful. You are so nice. But I am so wrathful. I am so full of sin that I cannot see you. I have no qualification to see you. Krishna, I want to see you. But I am so disqualified that I cannot see you. And whenever you develop these feelings, this mood sincerely, that is separation. And whenever you have these feelings of separation, that grows, that feeling that we had talked about last week, the ultimate goal, that developing that relationship with Krishna. And this way we can develop that relationship with Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, and bring their chariots into our hearts. So I guess I'm going to go to a question now, which is hearing about the advent of Jagannath and Jagannath Puri. From that story, I guess, how do you think one cultivates these feelings of separation? And I was just going to take a few answers and I'll write them down on the slides. Let's see. So who wants to go? Kailash Prabhu, you have an idea?
Yes. So, in the story you talked about how the gopis of Vrindavan, when they saw Krishna, right, and then we're talking about him, and then hearing about that, so Narada explains to the Durga Maharaj that his hands, so he started looking like this, and eyes grew up, and so the separation is so much that Krishna cannot maintain his proper form. His eyes became like this, and he took the form of Jagannath. So that's what I understood, that the gopis of Vrindavan, they had the this love of separation. The Radharani, she has a love of separation.
So how did they get there?
How did they get there?
Yeah, I don't know. In the story itself, it also demonstrates different ways. What qualifications are needed to get that? Not, I guess, qualifications, but yeah. What do you need in order to get there?
Listen about Krishna.
Listen about Krishna? Nice. Anyone else want to share? We can engage everybody. I want a few want to use Prabhu's everybody to share something.
Pray to Krishna.
Pray to Krishna? Nice.
What's the question?
So in hearing about the story, the advent of Lord Jagannath and Jagannath Puri, how do you think one cultivates these feelings of separation?
Serve Krishna.
Serving Krishna? Nice. What else? What?
Surrender Krishna.
Surrender to Krishna? Nice. And does anybody else want to give any more? Share anything else? Raja? Read Srila Prabhupada's books. I guess, what did King Indradumna have the entire time. Even whenever he came back to the Earth planet and he realized all of his kingsmen, everybody, they had left their bodies already and everything was new. He never wavered in this one specific thing. What could anybody tell me what that is? Yeah.
Is it Krishna Prema?
Krishna Prema? Not quite what I'm looking for. Could anybody else?
No. So his desire to worship the Lord Jagannath, see him, and
Desire to
intense
worship the
desire,
Lord.
I would say.
He's longing to worship the Madhava deity, and he kept that motivation even though the deity disappeared.
Yes.
That was his main focus.
Okay, nice. So let me put this back up. Yeah. So these are a few of the things. Does anybody else want to share? Are you guys sure nobody else wants to share? Okay. Nice. Okay. So we will come back and we will revisit this question and these answers. So Srila Prabhupada, in his youth, he also, in a way, manifested Lord Jagannath. From his youth, he had always had this strong, intense desire to worship Lord Jagannath, to see Lord Jagannath. And so much so that as a young boy, he even organized a whole Rath Yatra with his neighborhood. He was able, with the help of his parents, obviously, he was able to get a cart, and with the deities, we were able to go out and take them around. And that's at such a young age. Imagine, Sanaya, do you think you could orchestrate a Rath Yatra? You didn't organize the one for today? Oh. Yeah. No, it's such, just in such a young age, that always just wanting to see Lord Jagannath, even as he grew older, his only desire was to go to Jagannath Puri, to see Lord Jagannath. He was actually able to go to Jagannath Puri after his schooling had ended, and he was able to travel. He had traveled to Jagannath Puri, and to his surprise, everybody there was eating meat, or eating fish, specifically Ganga fruit, as it was written in the Lamrit. The Ganga fruit is what they refer to it as. There was just so many people haggling him, and just it was overall not a good experience. So he didn't get to really, he still worshipped and saw Lord Jagannath. He was still able to have the ecstasy in that aspect, but just his overall trip, he was so disappointed to see all of these so-called brahmanas just out here trying to have people see the Lord's darshan for money, or eating fish, which is just strictly prohibited. It's but later on, this feeling cultivated into something much, much bigger, to a point that Srila Prabhupada, just under the orders of his spiritual master, he had came to the West, and he had came here to preach to all of us. And he had developed such a great following of devotees, sincere devotees, that Lord Jagannath had manifested himself here in America. The other day we were at a home program, and that's something that Vaipra was talking about. It's Srila Prabhupada, he could know the right time for worship certain things. And it kind of reminds me of with Tulsi Devi as well. In Hawaii, one of the devotees came about getting a Tulsi plant, and then Srila Prabhupada, he knew this is the time. This is now we must worship Tulsi. And the same thing happened with Lord Jagannath. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Malati Devi, she had went to a small little store, and whenever she was in this store, it was a small little thrift shop type of store. She had saw the deities of Lord Jagannath, and she was like, oh, I think Srila Prabhupada would like this. She didn't know who he was at the time. She just grabbed the small little statue and took it to Srila Prabhupada. And whenever she had brought it to Srila Prabhupada immediately folded his hands and offered his obeisances to this statue. And then he was like, there should be 2 other ones. And then she was like, yeah, there are 2 other ones. And he was like, so you go back to that store and you buy these you buy Jagannath, or you buy Baldev and Subhadra, and so they can all be together. And he explained that this is a form of the Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and his brother, Lord Balaram, Baladev, and his sister Subhadra. And from there, he had after telling them about this, she had retrieved the rest of the deities from the store, and she brought them back. And after that, Srila Prabhupada had instructed another one of his disciples, Shamasundar Prabhu, to actually construct these deities. And this had all taken place in San Francisco. And his goal was for the Gaur Purnima that year to have these Jagannath deities constructed. So on Gaur Purnima that they could actually install the deities. And so so Shamasundar Prabhu, he was working on them, and he was working on them, and he was able to construct them in time. At one point, he did actually get like a splinter while carving the Jagannath deities, and it got infected, and it was just a whole thing. But he was still able to carve out Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra on time, and they were able to perform and install Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra on this day. And whenever they were installing the deities, there was just a tumultuous kirtan all day long. And later, or like right before it was time to break the fast for Gaur Purnima, they had installed the deities. And after they were able to install the deities, they had their prasadam, they broke their fast, and they were chanting later on. And whenever they were chanting, Srila Prabhupada, he had called one of his devotees over, and I believe the devotee was Mukunda Prabhu, and he was talking to this devotee, and he was telling this devotee, man, like just looking at Lord Jagannath, all he could think about was the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always so engulfed in these thoughts of the separation with the gopis and Radharani. And he had explained this to the devotee, and the devotee was sitting there thinking, man, I look at Lord Jagannath and I think nothing of the sorts. I don't know, I was reading the Prabhupada Lilamrita, and he was just describing how he had realized like just how different of a level that they were, that the Lord, that Srila Prabhupada, he would see the Lord, and he would just think like of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was the only thing that's going through his mind, nothing else, no talk of nonsense, but just always thinking of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then after this, the next day, after installing these deities, the devotees, because Srila Prabhupada had told them about the Rath Yatras, the devotees had took the deities out to the Golden Gate Park and actually began to like chant with them. Like, imagine if we just took Shushini Thakur and Nattaraj up to J. Blanchard Park, had a little kirtan with them. It's a bit too spontaneous, not quite in what Srila Prabhupada has prescribed, but that's why Srila Prabhupada talked to them and told them, like, whenever he had seen the scene, he came downstairs, he went to the temple and he had saw that the deities were not there, and he was like, whoa, where are the deities at? And one of the devotees had described how some of the devotees had took them to the park to do kirtan. Whenever they got there, Srila Prabhupada, he saw it immediately as just the most beautiful sight. So many like Western devotees, like there was hundreds of devotees just surrounding Lord Jagannath, singing, dancing, just as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us to do. And Srila Prabhupada, he felt this intense like happiness. And after that, he had told them, guys, no more. You can't take the deities out. But if you do want to take the deities out, let me show you how. So Srila Prabhupada, he had guided them and instructed them to do the Rath Yatras and so properly take out Lord Jagannath. One of the devotees, who played a very big role in constructing these deities, his name was Jagannatha Prabhu, and to this day, his name is still on the carts. We have his picture on the carts of all the Rath Yatras, and of all the Jagannath carts, because he had such sincere service to Srila Prabhupada that he, while battling with leukemia, he was still organizing the New York Rath Yatra and building, like you've seen the carts in New York, they're humongous. Not quite Jagannath Puri size, but they're pretty big. And he had helped with organize the construction of that, organize the whole Rath Yatra in New York. And these Rath Yatras in America, they are so dear to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada even stated before that these Rath Yatras, after seeing these Rath Yatras, seeing the devotees chanting in front of Lord Jagannath, that this is how he knows that these Western devotees, that Western devotees are permanent. How here in the West that we'll always have these Western devotees, because he just saw how sincere and how many people were so glad and enthused to be in this chanting with Lord Jagannatha for hours on end. Something that can't be made up. It's something that can't be imitated. It's just this feeling of just, and it's just because of Srila Prabhupada's his own desire, his own will to serve his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that we are able to have the Rath Yatras here in America, and even today we are able to do it outside, So I guess I'll go back to the question that we had. We had talked about hearing about the advent of Lord Jagannath and Jagannath Puri. Do you think, how do you think one cultivates this feeling of separation? And we had a list of things. We have listen about Krishna, like hearing about Krishna. We have pray to Krishna, serve Krishna, surrender to Krishna, read Prabhupada's book, desire to worship, longing kept that motivation. He had this longing to serve and kept that motivation to serve. I think that's what I meant to put there, but okay. And that was said by Avi Prabhu. So with these, and Srila Prabhupada being able to manifest Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra here in America, I guess let's change it up a little bit. Not focusing on the story of King Indradumna, but with Srila Prabhupada, how do you think one cultivates these feelings of separation?
Excuse me. By chanting?
By chanting, yes. Nice one for you. No, here. So we'll go back more. So chanting. But what did Srila Prabhupada have? And Avi Prabhu said something along the lines, but there's something else that Srila Prabhupada had this entire time, like throughout his entire service, that was unwavering.
Serve his master.
Serve his master, yes. Faith, yes.
Devotion.
His devotion, as eagerness. You're getting there. He had this determination, and not just determination, but he had enthusiastic determination. And you can see that with King Indradumna as well. So in the Nectar of Instruction, verse 3, we talk about the dues of bhakti, the dues on how to cultivate it. And these are there. I believe the third one is following the regular principles, like the process prescribed by Parikshit Maharaj, or not by Prahlad Maharaj, the 9 steps of devotional service. But the first 3 things were enthusiasm, determination, and patience. And so could anybody, I guess, from that tell me what enthusiasm means? Let's define all of these really quickly. Enthusiasm.
Like a devotee is always enthusiastic to do service of the Lord, always enthusiastic to listen about Krishna, read Prabhupada books, like enthusiastic.
Okay, so is this devotee just talking about, oh, I want to do this, I want to serve Krishna in this way, I want to serve Krishna in this way, and then goes home and like does nothing. Goes home, sits, oh, I'm done. I thought about doing it, but I decided not to.
He does that as well.
He does it. Oh, okay. So enthusiasm, it's having this desire to serve Krishna and taking action towards serving Krishna. And that was exhibited by Srila Prabhupada. He had this desire to serve his spiritual master, to serve Krishna. And in this way, he was able to establish a worldwide movement that even to this day is going on pretty strong. You know, like everybody here, we are all very fortunate to be a part of Srila Prabhupada's movement. It's a very, very rare thing if you really think about it, how many people are actually able, like we go out, we do the Harinam, we encounter so many people every time, and how many of them have actually come like back here? It's not like, oh, like we're not doing good and this and that, but it's more so it's a very rare thing to be able to have the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to be able to come here every single Sunday and participate in this. And just that same mercy, he was able to bring Lord Jagannatha, Lord Baladev and Subhadra here, and everywhere. We, like in Florida alone, everywhere we have 5 Rath Yatras. Like everywhere he's worshipped, everywhere we're able to give out Lord Jagannath Prasadam to everybody. And it was with that enthusiasm, that taking action. But sometimes it can be distraughting, you know. Nobody wants to come, like for months on end. You can have just like, you can go out, reach, talk to people, but you just see no results. So in those times, what is it that you need to have? Determination, which is what Srila Prabhupada also exhibited, what King Indradumna exhibited. That determination that I want to worship the Lord, that no matter what, he had never stopped looking for the Lord, King Indradumna. And Srila Prabhupada, he had never stopped trying to fulfill the orders of the spiritual master. So with these things, this determination, this enthusiasm, and even if you look locally, like, sorry, Dwight Prabhu, I am going to mention you, but spontaneously, if you, like last week, you're like, oh, let's have this Rath Yatra festival, celebrate it today. And now it's an actual thing. It's manifested itself. We have Lord Jagannatha Pastimes. We have all the devotees here who've made a very beautiful cart to bring all these wonderful Boga offerings for the Lord. And that was just through his enthusiasm, his determination to serve the Lord. So you can see it with local devotees, like everywhere. You see it and you get this inspiration to take action and serve in this way. And so, yeah, I guess I want to just get closer to, so this is Jagannatha Prabhu who has done so much for Srila Prabhupada for these Rath Yatras and establishing them here in America and helping Srila Prabhupada with everything from monetary expenses to just everything. Like he had played such a big role in San Francisco forwarding the movement, and he, like, even I've heard before that even after he had left his body, because he had left his body before Srila Prabhupada, even Srila Prabhupada had felt these feelings of separation from Jagannatha Prabhu, which is why he's so highly revered. He was truly a saint in our modern day, and he is a big part of like why we also have Lord Jagannath here today, and we're able to do these from his sincere, enthusiastic, and determined service to the Lord. And so this was a quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 23. Does somebody want to read it? Yeah, Mr. Prabhu.
After his 18 years at Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent 6 years with his many devotees. By chanting and dancing, he introduced the loving service of the Lord.
Nice, nice. And I guess, what do you take away from that?
Of these 18 years at Jagannath Puri,
What do you understand?
for Jagannath Puri,
Yes, okay. So what did Mahaprabhu do in these 18 years in Jagannath Puri?
He spent 6 years with his many devotees.
Yes. And with those devotees,
And
nice, he did. And in this way, he had introduced the loving service of the Lord. So for 6 years, Mahaprabhu, he had spent with the devotees. So every year after the first Rath Yatra that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had observed with all the devotees, he had instructed them to come back again every single year in order to meet with the devotees. And after so many years, got to a point where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he couldn't, all the devotees, they couldn't go without seeing each other. And it was described that they would get angry without seeing each other for so long. So they would always meet every year. They would look forward to this and stay together for months, just chanting and dancing. And in this way, he had introduced this loving service of the Lord. So this loving service of the Lord, we all, luckily, we get the opportunity to go out and chant and dance and sing with Jagannatha, Baldev, and Subhadra today. Let's just all take this moment. Srila Prabhupada, he had described this Rath Yatra as I want to quote it correctly, so it's just, sorry. He had described it as, this Rath Yatra festival is very nice. It's a feeling festival for the Vaishnava, and anyone participating in this festival, he will gradually develop his dormant love for Krishna. So last week we had talked about cultivating this love of Krishna, our goal of life, to reestablish our relationship with Krishna. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed us this by introducing this chanting and dancing. And Srila Prabhupada, he's facilitating it by allowing us to have our very own Rath Yatras here. So Srila Prabhupada, whenever he had introduced these deities, he had also introduced the proper mantras to worship these deities. And there's a very the one that we sing all the time is Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Nayana Patagami Mahatme. So it's saying that, Lord Jagannath, you are the object of my vision. You are the object of my worship. May you always be the object of my vision, the object of my worship. And so with this, we should we come together as a community. So many devotees came earlier to help set up and arrange for Lord Jagannatha Baldev Subhadra to have a very nice cart. And we're all going to go out together and bring them. And we're all going to go out together and chanting and dancing. And in this way, we can each together grow our own and encourage each other to grow our love of Krishna, grow our service to Krishna. Does anybody want to share anything about Lord Jagannath or Subhadra?
You were mentioning how Srila Prabhupada had that enthusiastic determination to push forward. You could say he's unstoppable. And I know English as a language is very unique because it's not one language, it's kind of a mixing pot of many different languages. There's actually an English word related to Lord Jagannath, which literally means unstoppable. Does anyone know it?
Juggernaut.
Juggernaut.
So when the British colonized India, they were unable to understand the Brahmins. So when the Brahmins were saying Jagannath, they said Jagannatha. What's the Jagannatha? And they see this gigantic cart, which is being pulled by thousands of people. It's even crushing people underneath. Luckily, we get crushed by Lord Jagannath's wheels to get liberated, but that's a little different. But they were seeing basically this unstoppable force moving forward, and that's where we get the word juggernaut from. Something that's unstoppable, which Srila Prabhupada was a juggernaut,
Yeah.
serving Lord Jagannath.
He was a juggernaut, serving Lord Jagannatha. That is very, very true. Nice. Anyone else like to share anything? Yeah.
I was just thinking from what you were sharing, the beauty of Jagannath Rath Yatra is that it carries the whole spectrum of just wherever you're at in your spiritual journey. If it's just like the Rath Yatra can be conceived from like the most basic form as, oh, it's just a nice spiritual social event, you know, very fun thing that we're coming for, to the deepest form of spiritual meditation. Just in that same act of pulling the Rath, chanting and dancing, you can access any form of spectrum, in that spectrum of spirituality and bhakti. So as you were sharing, the deep absorption of separation from Krishna, the deep aspects of bhakti, and also just the social events. Oh, it's so fun and sweet, you know, everyone's chanting and dancing. So the whole spectrum is covered in the Rath Yatra.
It is. It's very nice. And it's like, for hours, you can go on just chanting these names. And for hours, like, just everybody together, coming together. You feel it, like, whatever level you're at. Like, I do like that realization. Whatever level you're at, you have this, you get to experience it. Like, I don't know, it's very nice, like, going, especially, like, seeing, like, we have a Rath Yatra at UCF every year, and it's just very nice going because so many people, like so many students come in, and, like, they might not know anything about it, they might know very little about what's going on, but just seeing how much they enjoy the cultural event, the kirtan, especially all the prasadam, the samosas, the very yummy samosas, and then they even enjoy a lot of devotees go out and they do the they are actually like a lot of students, they help pull the carts and like join in with the dancing and stuff. And it's just always very nice to see that, like, this mood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would experience, that's very, very high level. That's just something that we're not at. But right now, we still enjoy this, being able to serve Lord Jagannatha in this way. Everybody who encounters Lord Jagannatha, they get to enjoy. Even the Christian preachers, apparently I was reading, even the Christian preachers, like whenever we were at Daytona, we had to deal with them. But even Srila Prabhupada used to have to deal with them back in the day. But they're still, you know, having a good time, sharing their own message, like wherever you, whatever stance you take, you go, you see Lord Jagannath, you have a good time. Even if it is maybe in a different way. But also with that announcement, everybody pull out your calendars and notepads and take note that we are having our UCF Rath Yatra on September 4th. So, there you go. So yes, please everybody come and bring all of your friends. It's open to everybody. You don't have to be just a student at UCF. You can always feel free to come. And as we get closer to the date, we'll share more about like parking information and everything. But also devotees to help with that and everything. So whenever the time gets closer, we'll discuss more about it. But yeah. So anybody else would like to share anything?
For Jagannath, the most thing that I think, like, you know, when you see his big eyes, you see like how merciful Krishna is, like he's, you know, watching us, like doing a little service, like, you know, and anything that you do to, like, you know, in material world, everyone forgets. For Krishna, like whatever life you serve him, even a little bit, he will never ever forget. So in this, with his big eyes, he's always watching us. With that thing, and you see, like, you know, whenever I always hear in science that whenever a person is in like too much love, their pupil dilates and like eyes expand, kind of. So the same thing we can see with Krishna, exactly, like, you know, how Jagannath is like huge eyes, his pupils are dilated, and he's like in completely ecstatic loving form, just looking at you like that. And then, so that is one thing. Another thing is the great prasadam from Jagannath. Like, you know, the best form of Krishna, I think, like today. Because not everyone may chant or, like, you know, do meditation, but everyone will take good gulab jamuns and good samosas.
Yeah. No, Lord Jagannath, he eats so much, 56 preparations a day. It's like, huh? Every meal. Wow. That's amazing. And he's so merciful. You know, I was actually reading in Srila Prabhupada, he was talking about that, like, whenever he first introduced Lord Jagannath, they were able to actually worship the deity in Lord Jagannath's form because Srila Prabhupada had said that Lord Jagannath's so simple, like, as merciful as Sri Sri Jagannatha Pastimes, that simply just by chanting, you're able to worship him. Later on, he did introduce artis, like, after installing the deities, he did introduce, like, the artis. But before that, he had told them, like, simply chanting the Maha Mantra around Lord Jagannath, that's how you can worship him. That was very interesting, that he is just as merciful as Sri Sri Jagannatha Pastimes. So it is now 6 o'clock. We'll get ready for Bharati. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannatha Raj ki Jai. Vanchakapatruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam